Football Manager can be a really complicated game. There's a lot to it, a lot to learn. Whether you're a beginner or someone that's been around the game for a while, there's a good chance you're either underusing certain aspects of the game or potentially using them wrong. So today I'm going to talk about 3 common examples where you might be doing something wrong in FM, 3 things that I see all of the time from Football Manager players. Hopefully you'll find this useful. If you do, smash the like button, subscribe for more content like this. And with that being said, let's check out the first mistake you might be making in game. Now this is particularly going to apply to anyone managing in the lower divisions, whether that be England, Germany, Spain, France, wherever it is in world football. If you're managing in the lower leagues, I think one of the biggest mistakes you can make is buying players for a fee. Well, what do I mean by that? How can you get promoted without spending money? Well, look at this save I've got here. Dover Athletic were in League 2 with the club 5 years in. It was part of a rebuild that I did on my channel a while back now, but basically we got them promoted after 5 seasons to League 2 and we kept going to the Prem eventually, not to spoil the video too much, but you can see in the 5 years that we've done at the club so far at this stage, I spent £0 in this transfer window, 5,000, so one player was bought in on an actual fee, but every other season you're seeing 0 for the amount spent, and I think you guys should all do the same. I think it's a big mistake to spend money on an actual player at this level. You want to be focusing in on loans and free transfers when you are in these divisions. For the English divisions as an example, when you get up to say the Championship, then it might be time to start trying to find some wonder kids that you can develop and sell on. But in these early stages, your only aim is to get promoted, and when you do, you'll make some cash. Use that to invest in facilities. There's no point spending your money on players at this stage because no one really is going to be worth it. Hopefully, if you're getting promoted on a regular basis, these players that you're spending money on won't even be good enough for your team in a few years' time. What you want to do instead is focus in on loans from real top clubs. So for us in the League 2 here, we'll be looking at anyone from the Championship or the Premier League available on cheap loans. They're academy players. Sometimes you can even get them for completely free, or you want to focus in on free transfers. You never want to be spending money. You want to go out there and try and pick these guys up. They're not ever going to be good enough to eventually join you when you make it to the Prem or anything, but they might help you get promoted to League 1 and then you start fresh. There might be some players that are good enough for League 1 but will have to go when you get to the Championship. You get the idea. You don't want to be spending money. You can see we've done that here with Dover, obviously outside of that one deal that we did make. I can't remember now, it was so long ago why I decided to do that, but you can see the general gist of everything I'm doing is free transfers and loans. That way you can bring people in, use them for the sake of using them to help you get promoted, and then move them on. You don't need to keep them around forever. I've managed to use the money that we've been making here at Dover to improve the facilities. I know they don't look great, but they were even worse when we initially took over, and it is one of the biggest mistakes you will see from Football Manager players, particularly people who are new to managing in the lower divisions. Really, you do not need to spend money. Put all your budget towards facilities, and if you can, stick it all on wages and bring in free transfers and loans. Don't buy players on a permanent. It's a waste of money, and unless it's a really specific circumstance, there's a good chance you're going to lose that player in a season or two once you get promoted and they're no longer good enough. So it's not worth the initial outlay. You can use that funds you would have put to transfers on improving the club as a whole, and it will definitely help you out more in the long term. But the next mistake is one that I see most people making out of the 3 that I'm going to talk about today, and that's underutilising their staff members. Now, you can see here, we've got a pretty good staff setup in this Lyon rebuild. We're the best at pretty much everything in the league a few years on, and we've got all but one space that I'm hoping to fill soon out of our staff setup filled up. Now, a lot of people out there will leave spaces in these staff setups, and I really implore you not to do so. It might save you some money. If you're a team in, say, the 5th or 6th tier of England, maybe I can see it, but if you're any kind of decent level team, make sure those staff sections are filled. Whether it's scouts for the obvious reasons of finding more players, whether it's coaches for the obvious reasons of improving your training, or even your medical team, which a lot of people will ignore without realising just how important it is. Sports science, for example, have someone that's good in that. Have a good sports science team. People don't realise what they do, but everything has a reason in Football Manager. And what the sports scientists do is they help prevent your players get injured, which can be invaluable to your season. It might stop your star player being out for a month or so, which could get you another 2 wins, that could earn you promotion, and it can make a huge difference. The same with physios. If we have a look at them, we've got a guy with 18 physiotherapy here. People ignore physios, but if you don't know, the better your physio department, the shorter the wait time on an injury recovery, so your player will be out for less time. If you focus on getting the right medical team, you'll get injuries on a less regular basis, those injuries won't last so long. That is a great investment of your money, but people ignore it so often. And that goes for coaches as well, scouts. I could go through it all. In fact, I have made a whole video dedicated to staff not too long ago, and I do think you should watch that. There's lots of great information in there, in my opinion, about some of the most underutilized staff roles in the game, people not realizing what they're doing, but there's a reason for all of these staff roles. So get someone in there, get them working for you, and it will help your club more than you think. Sometimes though, you might feel like you want more staff. A lot of people don't know you can do this, so where you ask for board requests and whatnot, whether it's youth facilities or anything, if you go down to staff, you can actually ask for more coaching staff, sometimes more scouts, if your board will allow it, more physios for your youth teams, for your second team, for your first team, whatever it might be. Try and do that as often as possible to get better staff members, get a better staff setup, and that's going to help everything from training, which will help your players' development, to having your players out injured for less time, and the more scouts you've got, the more chance you've got of finding wonder kids. So yes, a lot of people out there will put money towards other things and not really focus on improving their staff setup, but it can have massive results on your team, and I really don't think you should be leaving any of these blank. Get as many staff members in as you can, and then when you can and it's filled up, ask the board to hopefully increase it, and before you know it, you'll have the best staff setup, and that's really going to help your club in so many different ways. And now for the final thing that I think a lot of people are doing wrong in Football Manager. It's something that's easily forgotten, easily not known about also, but it can completely change the way your games go, how your season goes, and how much success you're going to have at a club. And it's all about player interactions in games. So let's take this for example here. We've just played a match, a pre-season match, pretty easy one, and we've had some players do well. Now it could be easy just to look at this and go, okay, sorted, don't need to worry about it and move on. And for pre-season, you're probably fine too. But when it comes to actual games in the season, this is where you want to start taking your chance to talk to your players, and you're going to get massive benefits from this. So let me give you an example. If you don't know, in FM, if you go to a player, every single player, you can interact with them in some way. So you can praise them, for example, about training, about their last game, about conduct, or even you can warn them if they haven't been great in any of those sections, if they haven't been training well, if they were bad in their last match. Now it's very easy for people not to realize these are there or to forget about these options, but they are crucial in player development, in player performance in Football Manager. So let's take Aber Vinicius here. We've just had a pre-season game where we've won 3-0 against a team we should beat. It's nothing special, but let's imagine this match was actually Monaco in the league and we've just beat them 3-0. We're going to treat it the same way. So what you want to do is you want to review the game in some way. So we're going to go to the match report here. You can sometimes do this right after a game is done should you want to, but we're going to interact with our players and either criticize them or praise them for their performance. And this will give them a morale boosting game, and morale can have a massive effect on their performance on the pitch. So let's have a look. Aber Vinicius was really good in this game, so we could go discuss, praise, and then praise last game. Most of the time when you say you were really good, they'll say thank you, and it might help their morale, it might leave it the same way. Sometimes if you say the wrong thing, like if we criticised Aber Vinicius for his game, he's obviously going to not take it well. But just by doing that, we've built more of a relationship with the player and we've tried to improve his morale. It won't work for every player, but for some it will have a big effect. Here's an example of it working. I've just spoke to Malik Fofana, another player that played well in that match, and you can see his morale has gone from exceptional to perfect. So we've improved his morale. That will improve his performances on the pitch and it keeps him happy. Now by doing this, you increase a player's performance from game to game, which is obviously going to help them in terms of their progression and also help you guys in the match engine. But on the same end of the coin, if you have someone that doesn't play well, let's say Duja Coletta Sarr here actually had a decent game, so you wouldn't say anything about that, but let's imagine that said 6.3, 6.2. When someone has a bad game, do the same thing. Go to warn and then criticise them for their last match. What this will do is it will hopefully motivate them for the next game and get a better performance out of them, which is obviously only going to benefit you. But it's not just these short-term effects in matches that can help you, because you might have also saw there was an option to praise their training. Now if you go to the training section and training performance, you can get an idea of who's been training well and who hasn't. Now this can have a huge effect on player development, and if you have someone that isn't a good trainer, by doing what I'm about to show you, you can get them to train better, and at the same time if there's someone that trains well, you can get them to train at an even higher level just by doing this. So Malik Fofana, as you can see, has some of the highest training ratings rating out of anyone. You can filter it by best training rating to worst by clicking this button. So we can go to Malik Fofana, he's trained well, we can praise him for his training, and hopefully he'll take it on the chin. He did, that's great. Obviously his morale's already perfect, but that could help his morale if it wasn't currently. And again, the higher a player's morale, the better they're going to play, the harder he's now going to train. That's going to help his development and help him become a better player quicker. Once again though, there's two sides to this coin. We have Edward Mishu here, who has a 5.9 for training. It looks like he wants to leave. That probably explains why he's not training hard enough. But if we go to warm player, criticize training, and then say we've been disappointed, he says that's my fault, I'll make up for it. At this point you can say I'm glad you understand, or we can set a target. I've just told him if he doesn't train well he won't have a future at the club. Suddenly he's got a target which not only will help him hopefully train better, but also it's improved his morale. So just by doing this, we get a player's morale up, make them happier at the club. That's going to improve their performance on the pitch, and if you criticize and praise training, that's going to help your players develop better over the course of their career, which is obviously a big plus to you and can be really beneficial if you've got that wonder kid that you want to reach his potential. Praise when you can, criticize when you can, and you'll get the most out of your players that way. But there is one other player interaction that you might have seen there which can be really handy, particularly if you've got a big game coming up and you just want to raise your team's morale that little bit to give you that extra edge in match. So if you go to discuss, go to praise, and go to conduct, pretty much all the time, unless someone's been skipping training or anything like that, their conduct's going to be good. Most players have good conduct, so just by doing this, you can praise their conduct. He's done nothing special, Boyomo here, but I'm just going to say he's done well with his conduct. That has pretty much no effect on him, but it was worth a try. If you do that to everyone, you'll see some effects. We've just done it to our defender here, Anthony Roulaut, and he's gone from having a morale of very good to a morale of extremely good. So you can see just by doing that, we've improved his morale. Again, that'll increase his performance on the pitch, and if you did this to your whole squad before a Champions League final against Real Madrid, for example, and 5 players took it on board, those 5 players will perform that little bit better. They might give you an edge in winning the game, and like I say, unless he's been skipping training, it's pretty much a guaranteed button that will either have no effect or a positive effect. So just by doing it, take 2 minutes to go through your squad and praise their conduct, and it will help you. Now with all of this praising and criticising, one thing you don't want to do is do it every single time. So you don't want to be praising someone every single week for a decent training or a decent match. What they're going to do then is they'll stop taking it on board. So try and be a bit sporadic with it, maybe 1 or 2 times a month, or if someone has a really bad game or a really bad training session, then jump in on them. But if you manage this right and you use player interactions right, it can completely change, like I say, not just your fortunes on the pitch, but also the fortunes of your players developing, and that'll hopefully help them reach their potential and become the stars that you want them to. So there you go, there's 3 things I think a lot of people are doing wrong in Football Manager, whether it's underutilizing player interactions, not filling up their staff, or getting the correct staff in without realizing exactly what those staff can do for you. And of course, for you lower down managers, you want to make sure you're not spending money on proper transfers. You want to be using your money either to allocate to your wage budget to get better free transfers in, or to spend on your club facilities to improve those and help your club long term. If you follow those 3 things, I think you'll see a massive impact on the way that you play Football Manager, and you'll see even more success in the game. Let me know down below if you have any questions or any mistakes that you made in the game, and with that being said, I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.